You are listening to the Delay and Pray podcast, episode number 96.
Welcome to the Delay and Pray podcast, where certified Catholic and weight loss coach Beth Bubick teaches you how to permanently lose weight through spiritual fasting. Get ready to gain faith and lose weight through a joyful transformation of both body and soul. Now, your host, Beth, the Catholic fasting coach.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm writing this podcast just a couple hours after having a small surgery on my finger to get the last pieces of, yes, you guessed it, thorn. The last tiny pieces of thorn left behind from a large thorn that I accidentally lodged there on Memorial Day weekend. I wrote a podcast about it if you want to go back and listen to that one called A Thorn in My Flesh. But I have to tell you, the saga continues. So that weekend, when that doctor pulled out that large thorn, I never dreamed that two tiny pieces would be left in my knuckle. But that's how it goes, doesn't it? So I could tell something was wrong with my finger over the next few weeks after that time because it started to swell up right around the knuckle. And when I was on pilgrimage, it got a little bit worse. And then throughout the summer, it was not getting better. So I found myself in the office of a hand surgeon because it was obvious that something was lodged in my knuckle. And because when I actually pruned that rose bush, I had such force bringing it up out of the middle, I knew that it was probably going to be something wrong with the knuckle area of that finger. And I thought, oh, shoot, it is time to go get this figured out. And I had prayed and prayed and prayed, but it was time to use some earthly healing. So after an expensive MRI on that finger, I found myself in surgery this morning with local sedation to remove the pieces that could plainly be seen on the MRI. And also the doctor was able to get the scar tissue kind of carved out of there that was growing around them. And this was affecting the mobility of my finger. So anyway, I'm hoping that after a few weeks, my finger will be restored back to normal and it will be fine. But there is a story behind this that I was thinking about. At first, you know what? I was mad at the tiny little thorn pieces for causing me so much trouble. And it was so expensive, so much money. And then after that, I was mad at the doctor because I was thinking that he could just try to cut them out in the office, right? And not have to put me through an entire morning of surgery. I thought it was a little bit of an overkill. After all, they just seem so small. And so I was blaming everyone but myself. But the fact is, when I was pruning those bushes, I was not wearing my usual leather gloves. I just didn't take the time to put them on. I was tired and I just went out wearing rubber gloves on the bottom and cloth on the top. So it was totally my fault. And so I decided to suck it up and do what was needed to rectify the situation. And that meant surgery. So it wasn't the thorn's fault. It wasn't the doctor's fault. I didn't realize the removal was more complicated than an office visit. Because when I went through surgery this morning, that is when I learned that they actually had to use what they call biters to get the scar tissue that was forming around those little pieces. They had to get that out. So I finally came to the conclusion that the doctor knows what he is doing. He has been my doctor for so long. I mean, hand surgeon. I've had a carpal tunnel surgery on the right and I had a trigger finger on the left. So he's always done beautiful surgeries on my hands and I know I can trust him. So, I decided to trust him again. I don't know why. It was just my thoughts. My thoughts were just kind of going crazy thinking, I just don't have time for this. Right. So once I settled into the thought that I can trust him, that this is going to be fine, then I just started to relax and find all kinds of holy opportunities in the situation. So I put my thoughts through the model during prayer. And once again, what was it about? Humility. Yep, that is what I struggle with the most is humility. And St. Paul says, and so that I should not be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Lord 3 times, that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I will rather glory in my infirmities, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. And that is 2 Corinthians 12, verses 7 through 9. So I must tell you, I have to work on my humility and let God do his mighty miracles and stop forcing his hand. No pun intended on that one. Because this is true for my thorns and my weight struggles. His strengths are made perfect in my weaknesses. So, because I struggle, I can help you with your weaknesses. And that's the truth. And that's why, as a coach, that works because I have to go through this as well. I have a lot of thorns, I have weight struggles. Spiritual fasting is not easy. So, when I'm sharing my stories and my struggles with you, then it helps you feel like you're not alone and that you can do it. And I've made it for so many years now, almost 5 years. And the struggle is there, but it does get easier. The thing is, that's funny is like, I thought I already learned this lesson and I guess not. So this is why I tell everyone there is no wagon. We just keep learning. We just keep learning and learning and learning. Instead of a wagon, it is a struggle bus that does reach a smoother ride over time when you figure a few things out, like humility. And I think I'm going to have to work out humility for the rest of my life. Many times I've renounced self-reliance when it comes to delaying sugar and flour until Sundays. I'm usually failing in one of these attachments when I realize this, when I'm filling out my journal. And when I'm trying to do this on my own, I forget to run to Jesus. That's when I'm renouncing self-reliance. And self-reliance, straight up, it is pride. It is just not leaning into Jesus. So when I get back to prayer and clear out the sugar, flour, alcohol from the cabinets and really get committed to delaying that during the week, and then I fill my evenings with body and soul enriching activities, and I've started to prep all of my food and I start to plan my prayer and my day. When I get back to all of that, everything is better. Prayer and planning wins the day. I can tell you that. You have to write it down. And so having a really motivating spiritual purpose helps as well. All of this together, written down, is the key. Shifting my thoughts to fasting for the nation in this tumultuous political time. For me, fasting for President Trump, because in my estimation, he's the better option for our country when it comes to life and family issues. Fasting for my family and clients, and then letting God just do the rest. Really seeking out those amazing miracles that he is working for me every day and reminding myself in John 5:17 that he is always working. And then, above all, giving God all the credit that he deserves, even ahead of time. That's what humility is for me. And I have to work very hard on this. It doesn't come easily. I know life is complicated sometimes for all of us, but this morning I found myself just thanking God that it was nothing worse than just a couple pieces of thorn in a finger. It wasn't cancer or anything life-threatening, but it needed attention. Thank God it was my left hand, not my predominant right hand. Thank God I was able to get an early morning appointment so that I could work all day afterwards. Thank God for a family and team that prays. And so many mercies were given to me today that I recognized. It is sometimes the little things, these are the ones that must be looked at and examined to get it right. And it's the same with spiritual fasting. We are called to be witnesses to being responsive in a loving way rather than reactive in a fearful way. That's how we get it done, especially for the little things. Sometimes we will tend to say, well, I'll just have one bite or one almond or one more. But then that leaves us down this trail of binging or eating too much. We have to look at the little things, the little pieces stuck in the knuckle. We do not want those there. We must stop. We must do what we say we're going to do. And we can only do that through Christ. And again, as I've said, I don't always succeed at this, but as a Catholic mindset coach, I try always to shift my thoughts to thankfulness of the suffering that comes my way because I know the Lord has something to teach me. He is working within me. If I shift my thoughts into thinking of all events as holy opportunities and actually rephrasing or resetting my thoughts into heavenly language, such as, what is it going to take for me to keep my gaze on Jesus Christ through this situation? I need to look up, keep my gaze on Jesus. He's the one that's going to keep me from falling in the water. Or I can also remember that Jesus is the source of all that is good and the source of my discipline. I can run to him. He's the source of courage and wisdom. And I have to remember that and actually repeat it day after day. When things go wrong, I want to be mad or blame the doctor sometimes, but there is no fault here. It's not really me. It's not really them. Just a holy opportunity to handle with love because the Lord is allowing it so that I will learn something He has to teach me, to be humble and kind in every situation. The holy opportunity in this situation was that I found myself in deep prayer for healing, but also going to the doctors of this world for healing as well. I needed both. I was taking my thoughts captive at every moment that I could, and this is scriptural. It says in 2 Corinthians 10:5, take every thought captive unto Christ. I continually have to remember that I am under God's promise, providence, and protection, regardless of the circumstances, and He wants me to keep my gaze on Him and be obedient to Him so that I will stop relying on myself. This is the whole point of getting fit in body and soul. What is good for the soul is good for the body. It does start with the soul and your mindset. This is your possible intellect that with the help of grace, you can choose to fill that intellect with truthful and helpful thoughts about everything you are thinking and doing. This is where we want to go. What is good for the soul is healthy spiritual language, praying the rosary, sacraments, and scripture, to name a few. And what is good for the body is intermittent fasting, healthy meals with whole foods, movement, and sleep. Catholic coaching helps you choose all of this for life. My finger will actually heal faster through intermittent fasting and healthy, nourishing food, along with lots of prayer. It's all tied together. I love how God made us that way. Body and soul are a composite. We need to concentrate on both. So here are the words from the last podcast about the thorn that bears repeating. The thorn is a reminder that He is the one that heals both body and soul. He gets the glory as I surrender the food and drink and soul to Him. As I think about this over time, the detachment gets easier, and then I find myself slacking a bit on the sacraments and prayer life, and up those attachments come again. Isn't that how it works? These are stubborn thorns, but I'll take them. I am learning how to surrender to God in humility and to get to the wound that is way underneath. Here is an acronym that I created for the thorn in my flesh that God fully wills and that I try to remember now when I don't want to delay and pray. So it's THORN. T is for temperance. Temperance is a cardinal virtue that I need the most for my salvation. It means balance in use of created things, using them in moderation and for good. H is for humility, which stomps out pride and self-reliance. This is about His glory, not mine. O is for obedience, fasting when I don't want to and attending the sacraments regardless of my circumstances. And this is best done written down. R is for reliance on Jesus Christ, not reliance on me. That's pride. I cannot do it, but He can. And N is never ending. A lot of us just want to lose the weight and learn spiritual fasting and then think we're not going to struggle anymore. But I have to tell you, the struggle does lessen. It does get easier, but it's kind of never ending. And that's what it's supposed to be here on this earth. But it's a low grade type of struggle. It is not torture. And so that's where spiritual fasting should be. It's just a small hunger instead of just like a hangry feeling. And that is definitely doable. N for never ending means I will work out my salvation with the grace of God with many thorns that come my way in honor of Jesus Christ for His glory, my highest good. So to end this, I tell you, Jesus, I thank You for the thorns. I know You will relieve me of them when they no longer serve a purpose. So happy fall, my friends. Enjoy the fresh air. Stay away from the rose bushes. Enjoy the pumpkins. Enjoy the shine of the sun and adoration in the Eucharist. And may God bless you always. I hope you enjoyed this podcast on humility. Remember, prayer in the form of the sacraments and contemplation must come first in your life if you are to truly be successful with spiritual fasting. I can show you how to do this. First, get my book, Delay and Pray, to begin your journey, and then come join us in the group coaching course. The waitlist is open now. Next course begins in October. Also, please share this podcast with your friends if it was inspiring to you so others will hear the great message of Delay and Pray and build this spiritual fasting movement together. Have a great week, my friends. Keep praying and fasting, and I will talk to you next week. May God bless you and keep you always. If you are interested in learning more about spiritual fasting and permanent weight loss, then come join my course, Delay and Pray, a guided course for weight loss through spiritual fasting. You won't go through it alone either. I will be there to coach you every step of the way. This is a group coaching program where you are part of an amazing community of like-minded Catholics who have the same goal as you, to bring about miracles while losing that weight permanently through spiritual fasting. Your purchase includes an online course detailing what spiritual fasting is, how to do it, and all the tools you need to get you the results you're longing for. Head over to my website right now at thecatholicfastingcoach.com and get the details on how to join. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and LinkedIn to always get the latest daily information to help you keep fasting, my friends. Can't wait to see you in there. May God bless you and keep you always.